Welcome everyone to the Bharat Connect second round of meeting where we are bringing in again some talented, experienced panelists to join us and discuss some of the most exciting topic um, in the customer service industry, right? So the customer service trends for 2021. So these topics might sound a little bit more familiar, but this is not the same topic in my opinion, because the 2020 has done so much changes, and it brought us so much of unpredictable challenges, right, to all across the globe. So every one of us being impacted with the way how we interact, the way how we do our business, in fact how we work, how we learn, how kids go to school. Everything has been impacted, not just one aspect. So obviously it's going to have a much bigger impact on the customer service, and how it is being done, and what needs to be done going forward. What are the baby steps, and what are the things we learned from the past that we can adopt and help us to grow. So we have three panelists here to help us to understand, break down some of these challenges and help us understand, and let's take their input and see how we can put this into a good use for ourselves, right? In our operations, or in any of your personal business, or the way you work, and how you can put them to good use, right? So before I start introducing them, I would like to welcome all of you for this panel discussion. Thank you so much for being here. Most of you, it's going to be a good evening. If it is good afternoon, if it is a good morning, I would like to say all of thank you so much for being here. So it means so much for us, and let's get this started, right? Okay, so we have three panelists here. Ankur Bansal is here. So he's Senior General Manager Operations and Head of RPA for Sopra Steria. And we have Mr. Vijay Anand, Vice President Global IT from CorroHealth. And we have Fasih, Abbas, Head of Customer Service Experience team of Cashfree. So all of them have much more than 20 years of experience in the field, with the different kinds of experience they bring to the table that makes it very interesting, and good combination of experience altogether to learn the customer service industry from, because at the end of the day, we have customers to satisfy, and how we are going to keep growing the business, right? So that's the whole idea. But then the customers, how to satisfy the customer is not an easy thing, because is this going to be a simple search by talking, hey, just like saying, hey Google, get me this, or look up a date of birth for somebody, or get me the order me a pizza, is it that, or the customer service where you do in person, help someone who are in your business or in your shop, help them out of the way with to help them select what they are looking for, or suggest them something, and then being that bringing a good brand image, and then help them satisfy with what they are looking for, and that way build a customer service, or being able to give them all the access, and 24/7 being giving them the option to access the help like from their comfort of their home, or it could be anything, anywhere, right? So what is going to be the right strategy and how we are going to make it happen? So let's see with the help from like a three panelists. Let's break down and see how we could put them into a good use, right? So you would have seen three panelist profile we have sent out in the invitation. So so we have they have very good experience in what they have done, and what they're bringing to the table. And so it's going to be very interesting to hear from what they have to say. Okay, so without further ado, so let's welcome Mr. Vijay, Anand, Mr. Ankur, Bansal, and Mr. Fasih, abbas. So thank you so much, all three of you being here. It's been so much for us, and thank you so much taking your time from your busy schedule and being with us. So I hope all of you are having a great day today, and I hope this discussion helps a little bit to all of us, and to see to learn from each other's experience and what we have been through. Okay, so thank you so much for being here once again. And so let's get started with our discussion points here. We have quite a few points to cover. So what I'd like to do is to go one few points, and then a few of you to get to give a brief thought about yourself, and then others to give your opinion about that. So that way we cover most of the points, pointing to different panelists, and then get to hear the opinion from the others also. So that way we have time, we should be able to cover most of the points. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. So Ankur, Bansal, so you have experience working in European market, and you have been to global customer service in general, worked with a lot of MNCs, right? Like a big size MNCs. So there is a thought, right? There's a say customer experience is the product, or the customer experience is the brand, or the customer experience is a new competitive battleground, because the customers are just a phone call away for each brand, right? It's or just a click away or a swipe away, right? Whatever we can call it. So how are you looking at these challenges given the pandemic 2020, and how are you handling it?
Right. Thanks. Thanks, Uthaman. I kind of, I think, first of all, good evening, all. To start with, I think there's been kind of a notion that, pandemic, and I could be absolutely conversed to everything what everybody has been saying. I think pandemic definitely had an impact on certain market areas. Okay. But to be honest, I think this is a new era started. Okay. There are benefits which pandemic brought. Okay, for example, in India, work from home was a cliche. I'm saying never. Most of the organization used to run away in enabling work from home. While that is something which has been in countries like United States of America or USA, that has been existing last 20 years. Okay,
Yes.
but for some reason we have not been promoting it, or we have been kind of no, it's not going to be productive, and we've been running away
Very
from it. Okay, but customer service has absolutely changed, and I would suggest that the companies who are going the legacy way of doing things, they have to now change the way they work. That innovation, digital transformation, which enhances your customer experience, that has come into play. Now, for example, for every product or service, there are numerous sellers. What influences a customer's choice is always the experience. And
Yeah.
there are several examples to support this. Like take any day-to-day object or service, something as simple as food products, capture a bigger market when endorsed by celebrities, wrapped in creative packaging, and marketed as per quality such as organic, mineral infused, etc. This would differ as per the target audience, and which is why we use some brands bifurcating their market presence to be able to apply a different approach for different sets of audience. A single product or service can mean different things to different people. That's
Yeah.
the human side. If we understand and cater to, can actually provide a boost. We during this pandemic, need to understand and innovate our approach towards the customer experience, and it has to be an omni-channel approach. If, and I'm sure Vijay and Fasih, who has got more experience around this, would be able to back me up here. Like look at Amazon. Okay, Amazon has their 56% of the sales today from what they feel using the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithm. So when we go on Amazon, there is a preferred line which comes up. If you have bought this, you might want to buy this as well.
Yeah.
If you have bought this, so that your notion of selecting products and looking on that tool or on that platform, it captures and runs an algorithm, and it brings that product in front of it. And it was back in initial 2020 when the stats came out that 56% of the sale is again same basis on the artificial intelligence algorithm which Amazon is running. The point I'm trying to make here, Amazon, it's not the artificial intelligence which is selling the product. It is Amazon's algorithms trying to capture what is the customer need. Okay, the
Yeah.
point is not the selling. The point is understanding the customer need. If you are
Yeah.
able to understand the customer need, you can sell anything in the market. Doesn't matter pandemic or no pandemic. Everybody needs food. Everybody needs cars. Everybody. And then look at Maruti in pandemic. Okay, their sales percentage did not go down. They're still at 130%. Okay, and you look at Honda, their sales percentage has gone down 60%. Reason is they came up with new models, they were still continue to innovate and came up with flexible maybe payment options for customer. You need to understand what is the need of the market, what your customer needs, and if you are able to capture that, commercialize it, digitize it, and transform, you'll be able to sell in any period. I think
Yeah.
customer experience is all about understanding the customer. Better you understand, better you will able to adopt, transform yourself rather than saying that, what, this thing worked for me 10 years back, it's going to work for me today. And so to
Yeah.
be honest, Fasi, you did that phone pay and it was very
Yeah.
interesting. And I'm glad that I am joined this call knowing you. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
saying 10 years back, we wouldn't have thought about something like a Beam or a UPI. We would
Yeah.
never do a transaction on a mobile phone.
Yes.
Yeah. You, you
Today
know,
Yeah,
it's
Ankur,
same.
I second that thought, Ankur. Yeah, absolutely. I think, the big question on many people's minds was, will I be able to transfer money not knowing the bank account number, not knowing the IFSC code? But that's the reality today. You're just
yeah.
transferring using your mobile number and
Yeah.
your friend's mobile number, isn't it? So that's innovation and moving forward. I think just to add on to what Ankur has just mentioned, customer experience is also about how the organization builds its product, right? We shouldn't be taking customer experience as just the customer support or when a customer actually faces an issue.
Yeah.
Customer experience is about the product, like what Ankur mentioned, a classic e-commerce example of artificial intelligence, knowing
Yeah.
your customer
Yeah.
and serving it that way. Talk about the many apps in the market, right? There are a lot of people who get sticky to a particular product and they wouldn't want to actually use another product. Why is that? Because it's the experience that they feel, and they go through when they're using a certain product and they get really used to it. I mean, there was so much of competition for WhatsApp, but WhatsApp remained as a leader for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
That's because, the experience of using that particular app was really great. I think the customer experience should be understood that it starts from the first click and it goes on till, the journey is over, right? Till the last click and maybe, after he's received the product. And if there are issues, and that's when, your support thing comes up and how do you give the experience there,
Yeah.
right? And when it comes to so let me just call it as a happy flow, which is a very, very common thing in e-commerce slash fintech kind of an environment. A happy flow is as intended. The customer places an order and it goes through and he received the product, everything is intact, payment done, payment settled, everything over. That's a happy flow, right? An unhappy flow is something went wrong and the customer has to reach. And now that is the second leg of his experience with the organization. One, he's faced the product, he's faced some kind of services related to the product or the organization. Now it's about, how is he, able to connect to somebody to get his problem solved, right? There are three elements which really, really work for organizations. The first is how quickly can the customer connect to somebody and talk about his problem, the first ever response, right? Or his ability to connect easily. So that becomes the first element. And most organizations should look at solving this and try to actually give the first response very, very quickly, or allow customers to actually connect very easily. The second thing is how quickly can give a resolution to the customer's problem, right? I've worked with various startups, and it's a ratio of a 95-5. A 95% is something which the agent or the bot will be able to resolve that then and there during the very first interaction. And a good 4-5% is something which really requires deliberation, and it needs to be probably worked with a backend team to solve that problem. And then the customer needs to be connected back, and we have to close loop saying that this is the resolution. How soon can we give resolutions is the big thing. And in many startups, it's a 90-10 to begin with. 10% or sometimes even 12% of the queries actually get stuck and go for a backend support, and then that number needs to be reducing. 95-5 is something which is for an organization which is as old as about 2 years. I think if you're actually 4-5 years old in the organization, you should look at something which is less than say about a 3%, right? And you're solving 97% of the queries by the first interaction, and that's what you need to be looking at. The speed of resolution matters. And for the 3 or 5%, which is actually going back to your other teams, should be meticulously followed up. And there could be delays. If there are delays, you need to be keeping the customer warm. You need to keep going back and telling the customer, hey, you know what? We're sorry that it is taking more time than we expected, but we're really working hard on your query and we will try to solve this, right? That connect is something which is really important, and I see a lot of organizations missing on that, right? And when you're actually following up with your backend teams, don't leave them just there, right? Try to solve that problem. Try to work with those backend teams. And when you're actually solving these problems, you shouldn't be solving just as one case. You should be actually getting to the root to understand why did the problem even occur. Why shouldn't we actually find a solution which is a permanent fix? And that is how that number from a 90-10 drops to a 95-5, and then it drops to a 97-3, right? And that is how you actually keep moving forward. Yeah. And last but not the least is the quality of interaction. How is your bot interacting with your customer? It can't be plastic responses. It can't be very, very, scripted, responses that you give to the customer. You got to show that empathy. You got to show the connect. You got to be insightful in what you're actually giving as a response. When I say insightful, you got to tell the customer what exactly happened about his problem and what are you going to do about it. And if you're able to solve it, tell him that, you've actually solved this now. But if you got to solve it using somebody's help at the back end, it could also sometimes mean that, it is an external team, a team which is outside your organization, maybe a dependent bank or a dependent, vendor that you have to work with to solve that customer's issue. You got to be insightful in giving that information, saying that, hey, there are certain things which are not in our control, and we are working with your beneficiary bank, or we are working with, the issuer bank, and, we will try to solve this problem. Right? I think that quality of response, the empathy and, the insightfulness is something which the organizations really need to work. And if you get these things in place, I think the customer experience is going to be absolutely great.
Yeah. I think we have covered we started with one question. I think we covered like a point. So yeah, let's hear from Vijay's take on this one, and then I'll summarize it.
Thanks, Uthaman. Thanks for Fasih and Ankur. I think both of them covered a measure of all the points on the customer experience and what needs to be done. So everybody experiences customer needs, customer success.
I think Vijay have gone on mute.
Yeah. So sorry, I want to so thanks Ankur and Faiz, those are good insights. Probably you covered all the points what I wanted to say. But this I would say I was part of a lot of these CX leaders councils by other globally and all that stuff. So any organization, whether it's an organization or whether it's any kind of a service, customer experience is very important. So unless and until we have a good customer experience, you cannot survive in the market. Okay, the cost comes next. In fact, my mantra is the first is the customer service from whatever product I buy from any vendor. Next comes the support mechanisms, and third comes the price. So price would never always be the first thing. Of course, we are conscious about it, but what's the point in you negotiate hard and you get a cheap product, and then you find that they have a pathetic customer service or customer experience, then that doesn't technically and in any product whatever you build, the first thing is customers part. So based on that, you need to build the customer experience for them. So yes, I think Abbas mentioned the different mechanisms, the percentages, the response times, the RCAs. Those are all how it gets defined and how it gets done. But how it gets actually tracked and how it's measured and how people respond to this is the actual question. We can follow the Six Sigma method, we can follow Lean, we can follow a lot of methods. But how do you make the customer feel? So he should be the first priority. How does he feel? So how does he respond? So what is his experience? So constant feedback is very important. One thing is addressing the problem, but the second problem is to understand, have we solved it on time? Is the customer happy? So if a customer is happy, then be assured that you'll have much more better experiences and much more feedbacks from them. That is my small one sentence.
Sure. Thanks, Vijay. So it's very interesting. I think we got started and then we went in deep, and we discussed a few different aspects of it, right? So not just one question, because if you think about it, I was going to talk a little bit more about a couple of more points. So it's all covered here. So. How artificial intelligence or machine learning, how it is being being a major part of the customer journey, and how we are able to satisfy a customer, understand what customer is looking for, or giving him a suggestions based on what other customers are asking, and then so maybe make that customer realize, oh, this could be a good option, right? So let me maybe look into it or buy this, or or this might be the right way to go, right? So suggestions, for example, right? So not only it's helping to increase the sale as an organization, but then it helps to satisfy the customer, which is very, very crucial, because the customers have a lot of choices now, a lot more choices than what one could imagine. So it is it's a very good thing from that perspective. So now the challenges are how good we are going to tweak and make those artificial intelligence or machine learning that experience to help them to make that decision a little bit more easier, or a little bit more satisfying to them in whatever the way that they are looking at. So that's where the companies are right now, and that's where the challenges and the development efforts are going to be in, right? Okay, so I would like to jump to the next, question here. Like a few years back, right? Like customers would be saying, like, I have to talk to a live agent. I have to talk to a human to understand what, this problem is, or I want somebody to tell me why this happened to me. This is the right thing to happen. I'm so mad, right? I want to talk to somebody. Is that the scenario still, or this is slowly changing towards automated IVR? I don't really have to talk to a agent. Maybe I can see what's there, what the IVR or what the automated system can solution they can give me, and if need be, maybe I'll talk to someone, but otherwise I'm okay getting a support from a machine, or from somebody. Where do you see this shift is going? How do you plan for what is the plan that you have done from your side? So Vijay, you want to start this one?
Yeah. So to start off on IVRs are completely frustrating. If you see, you constantly dial into some kind of IVR, and you just get some robo, or you get some kind of a AI machine speaking to you. That doesn't solve the problem. End of the day, customer experience is when somebody picks up the call and they talk to you, because so I've been there have been a lot of experience. I'm sure everybody would have experienced a lot of things on that. But the actual point is the IVRs do not give you the solution. Yeah, there might be for short problems they might give you, but when you have a little bit of complicated problem, then what happens is I have been having very bad experiences with a lot of these telecom companies or whatever. They just pass you through the IVR to different steps and different options. But end of the day, you'll never get what you wanted. You would feel frustrated that, hey, I need to speak to somebody. My problem might be complicated, or my problem might be simple, but end of the day, I should have an option where I can speak to a live agent. I can explain the problem and get a resolution. See, the resolution can be done now, cannot be done, whatever it might be. But unless until the entire process is simple, n amount of technology is not going to help you. You might have you can have NLPs, you can have AI, you can build whatever you want. But the point where the customer, see, there's a very thin line. So where the customer gets his issue resolved, or he needs to go to an agent to get his issue resolved. Okay. Yeah. So that point, the customer should have the the capability or the ability to switch over. At that point, he say, hey, I'm enough of the IVR. Hey, I want to speak to somebody live agent. Yeah. Can you give me, say that, hey, can I press 9 codes just to the agent? Explain to him, because I'm not getting whatever through the technology. So we might spend millions on the technologies, but at the end of the day, people like to keep it simple.
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. Yeah. So how about, what is your opinion for Fasih on this one?
Yeah, I think with due respect to what Vijay just spoke, I'm slightly on the contrary side when it comes to this, because, I come from a massive automation and, self-serve kind of a background, right? I think it's not a choice that the organizations are giving to the customers, whether you want to actually use the self-serve or whether you would want to speak to somebody picking the phone. Right, I think it is more driven by the kind of funneling system that the organizations are creating, right? On the top of the funnel, I was working with one of these organizations where on the top of the funnel, we actually made a layer, which was a community, right? You're actually getting those customers to come on the community and getting those queries responded there, right? And you're kind of pushing the customers to get used to a community kind of an environment. So you are actually, kind of absorbing some of your volumes there. The second on the funnel was basically, your bot actually responding to the customers. It's not a matter of choice for the customer. For example, if you're actually on Ola or with PhonePe or any of these players, you actually, would want to create a ticket, but before reaching out to an agent, you actually have to go through these automations where the bot would actually respond to your query. And if you're extremely not satisfied with it, is only when you can actually create a ticket, right? By the time that you actually pass through all these steps in the funnel, you would see a significant amount of customers who are actually getting their queries answered and moving on. Now, in terms of the experience, right, I remember this concept which I apply, which is called the training of the bot, right? So let's talk about how do you actually gauge or measure customer experience. There are only two things. One, you look at the level of CSAT that customers are rating you on after you have actually interacted with the customer. Second is you're looking at NPS kind of a score, right? Now, what we've looked at is when we actually put a bot for a certain query type, right? It was a high flow query type, which means there are a lot of customers coming on it.
Yeah.
So the way we actually positioned this was we actually did a soft launch. We introduced the bot to about 10% of the traffic, and we started tuning the bot a lot more. We looked, we saw what was the customer CSAT scores that were coming. The CSAT score were easily about 15% lesser than what an agent would have done responding to that query. But over a period of time, the training of the bot, which means you're actually tuning the bot a lot more and more and more, and then that 15% now became a zero. That's a difference, and then we were able to actually scale it up by another plus 5%, which means that is possible. That automations are possible, and that is going to be the way forward.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a choice that the organizations would be giving to customers, saying that whether you want to use self-serve, whether you want to use automations. No, sir. This is the way that you will be served, right? But having said that, my only say to the organizations is try to get as better and as well connected when you're talking about automations, right? Like Vijay said that most of the IVRs today aren't friendly at all. They do not connect to the customer, right? The customer's expectation is A, and the response that he gets is an X. That needs to be sorted out. And that is with self-serve, or that is with automations. The bot actually needs to actually speak the right language, use the right kind of words, give the right kind of a resolution, and that needs to be continuously measured, and the bot needs to be trained constantly. I think that is really important, and that is the direction that organizations will move towards.
Yeah. That's a key aspect of how we can bridge the gap and
there's a lot of hard work. And if you ask me, will customers get used to it? I would say yes. I'll tell you why. Because in my childhood, I remember going with my mom to a Canara Bank and waiting in the queue, waiting for the token number to be announced and getting the money, the cash. I mean, my mom and dad was so used to actually walking into a bank and getting the cash, counting the cash and bringing it home. That was safe, right? But today that's not the reality. My dad actually goes to the ATM and picks the money, right? I mean, that is how you're actually driving, and you're changing the customer behavior, right? And that's how it will move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, think about how much time we used to allocate just for that one transaction, either taking out of money for that day expense, or depositing a little bit that was left over.
Absolutely.
Clearly 2 hours, right? 2.5 hours waiting in the queue, hearing that token number 3, token number 4. You would sit there and,
right.
you feel like I'm going to grow 1 more year old.
I think the consumers will change. I mean, if you see if the ecosystem is slowly changing, people got to get adopted to it. If you see more of ATMs and less of the tellers in the banks, it actually means that you're actually pushing customers towards that. And over a period of time, the customers will get used to it. They don't have a choice. But it is also our responsibility as an organization to make it so very friendly. And I was actually talking to one of these startups where they were already talking about how can we apply EQ on the bots. And that's another phase of automations, right? You're actually applying emotional quotient on the bot. So imagine if your bot is able to understand your sentiment, use the right words, and speak in and pacify your agony. Then that's like super good. right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything is measurable. So you can continuously measure how good or bad customers are feeling about a certain, feature that you're actually building on the automation side. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it from my side.
Yeah. So what is your take on this one, Ankur?
Well, I've got a mixed opinion here. I
Yeah.
partially agree with Vijay and I partially agree with Fasih on this one.
Sure.
Reason I say that is that, yes, of course, there is when it comes to ecosystem change, for example, bringing of ATM machines. Okay, that ecosystem, it is an ecosystem which changed. People adapt or, slowly and steadily adapted. I still remember the first bank in India who brought ATMs was Bank of Punjab in Chandigarh, and I was a
Okay.
part of IBM, and I was working. I was possibly among the first 10 network engineers who worked on that project in ATM.
Okay.
And trust you me, people hated ATMs. They were
Great.
like machines who won't get it. And Bank of Punjab suffered for almost 3 years of their ATM machines literally being used only by 5 to 8%. And they lost customers during that period until the entire ecosystem changed and adapted it. While automation is important, however, we need to be very sensitive about this, that you in that race of doing that automation, you should not lose your customers. A lot
Customers.
of times, we think that, what, my product is the best. It is the best in the industry. It is going to adapt it. But customer might not feel that ways. For
Yeah.
example, somebody who launched a Telegram, or now what's that, Signal, which is
Signal.
coming.
Yeah.
Okay, they think that they have got everything right. Okay, in terms of security, in terms of people, but are people moving? Answer is no. Are they going to eventually move? Maybe yes. Okay, so it's a blend. Like, for example, automation has proven to be a boon, especially for the business world. And like all good things, it got better with time. Now, if you look at a self-service options, which we were talking about a few years ago, versus today, there is a lot which has changed. Password reset was to be the biggest business BPOs used to run at one point in time. It's no longer there. IVRs back then were very time consuming and not capable of expressing any kind of empathy or emotion, the very human traits that customer look for in any customer service transaction. But it
Yeah.
has changed now. Your IVRs are absolutely poised with emotional quotient, and not emotional quotient would be the wrong word, possibly an empathy and sympathy with the languages and what they're using. And as humans, we have a need to felt heard and validated. Now, today's automation solutions are learning to offer a level of personalization and are smarter in being able to address certain concerns on the spot, saving a lot of time. Now, these enhancements have over a period of time not only earned acceptability, but rather preference in this fast paced world, making them a staple across business. But that said, I believe, in spite of all the wonderful stuff that can be done by machines today, there is a certain human element that cannot yet be automated, which is
Yeah.
why it is important to maintain a steady balance. That race has to be balanced, and anything which rushed on, is bound to fall and is going to lose the market trend. Now, for example, we ensure that, when we talk about, my organization or how we are implementing, we are ensuring that 60% of our any of our customer service operations are automated, and 40% human intervention would still be required, whether we become whether we do the train the bot, which is primarily the chatbot stuff, and the confidence level. Fasih, you were talking about, you start with I'm sorry, you start with a confidence level of 20-30%, and over a period of time, I have deployed chatbots which has got confidence level of 80 to 85% today. And we are looking at emotional questions to be put in, but would that ever replace the touch for a human? Absolutely no. Be it
Yeah.
how good we bring this, and me being a head of automation here, I'm saying this, that it can never place. It has to be a steady balance. I think what happens is when we rush through this, that's this automation speed and speed of doing this transformation, we tend to lose that there is a certain element of customer experience which is involved into this. There is a
Yeah.
set of that customer looking at how things are going to be put across, what can be automated now. Millennials like you, okay, you guys are fast. You guys can get onto app, click 100 things and do it. But trust me, dinosaurs like me, are will take time. Not everything is simple. I took almost 4 years. To be honest, it was only during the COVID-19 situation I adopted UPI. I, being a head of automation, I still was not convinced using an UPI until, sometime I think in April or May, I moved into the UPI and I found it really good. But it took me time. Okay? And there are people of, possibly of that age bracket of something like a 40 to maybe 70 and above, who are not going to so all I'm trying to say is you have to give time and
Just
stability
for
in the
that.
market and a steady balance. Is
Yeah.
I was trying to make a point there.
Yeah, very true. Actually, so when we came up with this panel, right? So we wanted a different school of thought because, no one solution is going to solve all of our problems, given the vast, differences in the businesses and how we interact and what we do and how we do things. It's just not one size is not going to fit all, right? So there is going to be a different school of thought. One story comes to my mind is in Target store, superstore in the US, when they saw how the customer satisfaction was done. So one employee was talking to a student, like a 14, 15 years old student walking into a shop, and then one employee was spending time, and then when they looked into deeper what's happening, so he was helping him to tie a tie. He didn't know. He walked into the store and then asking them for, can you give me the tie that I don't have to tie, right? Because it has a hook, so you can just put it on here, and it looks like you have the tie tied up, but it's actually not tied up, but it just hold on to your collar, right? But then the Target said, no, we don't have it. So that boy was a little bit dejected, but then the employee said, wait, I have a person here who can help you, teach you how to tie your tie. You don't have to go to other shop. So he said, okay. So the other person came and then he helped him, show him how to tie the tie. And then he asked him, what's going on. While they were chatting, the boy said, I'm just heading to the next door where for an interview. So that store happens to be some making some sandwiches and all that. So okay, so when you go for interview, what do you do? What do you learn? And what they're going to ask, so the employee asked a few questions, and then he gave his wisdom, if they ask you like this, you can just project you like this, so that way you might have a better chance of getting your job. So it happens that the boy got the job, and then he was it's a happy ending story. So think about the customer service here. What just happened? It was probably not the technology, or it was not probably anything that did the magic other than a human touch, right? So not just a human touch with the right knowledge, and a person who knew how to tie a tie, and number two, he knew how to help a person who is going for an interview, in the next door, what could be the questions and how he can help them. So from that boy's perspective, if you think, if he had to buy anything, right, guess where he is going to go first, right? Is he going to go to Walmart, or is he going to go to different stores? Probably not, right? He's going to step into Target first, right? Because he had such a positive experience from there. So what I'm saying is, we don't know what we experience, how we experience, and how a brand or company can perceive their customer to think why they have to come back to them, or why they have to use their product or the services, right? So it could be several different strategies, so that's absolutely fine, and that is going to be there for ever, right? Because as a human, we all look for different things, so that's what makes it the journey so beautiful. So that's good. Yeah, Fasih, you have something to say? I think you are muted.
Sorry. I think there's one question from one of the participants straight to me. Basically, Sabha is asking, should we give a choice to the customer of wanting to speak to an agent or continue to chat with the bot, right?
Yeah.
I think, honestly, organizations don't give a choice. The moment you give a choice, customers will continue to be what they are. They will not change. And therefore, you will continue to receive those volumes, and it's difficult to move those customers onto automations, right? End of the day, why do you want automations to kick in, right? CS is one of the highest cost, and we could probably discuss that in detail. And organizations really want to reduce their costs, and one of the ways of reducing the cost is automations, right? And you don't have to be linearly growing your CS team with the business growth that you see, right? And if you give a choice to the customers of whether they want to actually continue to directly connect with the agent, or to actually connect with the bot and respond, there will be significant amount of customers, just like what Vijay mentioned and Ankur also added to it. They will continue to actually connect with an agent directly. They wouldn't want to go through a bot or an automation, but that's not what is going to solve the organization's problem. The organization's problem today is, can I actually, bear and continue to bear the cost linearly the way it is happening today? For example, if I have a setup of about 100 agents for the current business that I'm running, and if my business is going to grow 10x, am I going to add 10x of the 100 agents, which is about 1,000 people? That is not the right way of actually running the business. So how do you actually cut that down? How do you ensure that you actually manage a bigger growth with lesser people? The immediate response to it is automations, while there are other things, which is refining of your product and ensuring that customers don't even need to actually reach out to the CS team. While that is a different subject altogether, the key thing is automations, and you have to actually push the customers to automation first. And if the automations aren't actually solving the customer's problem, yes, we should allow the customers to connect to an agent, so that the agent can actually do a much better work and solve the customer's problem. So Sabha, hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, and just to add to what Fasih you were saying, I think I was about to come to the last point, which you said that fine. I'm saying when you log in, nobody gives you first option today. I say it's like
Yeah.
you're talking to a bot or maybe a chatbot. However, at the end of that chat, when that question pops in, have I been able to resolve your query? If not, if the customer says no, would you like to connect to a human? That is important. That is really critical, because see, I know we have said this a couple of times on the call, but I still do not agree to one point, which is customers always have a choice. Okay, it is about we as an organization, we as a product. Okay, can we bring them onto or make it convenient for them so that they accept the way we are and they are able to adapt to the service? No customer till date, I don't remember a product or a service in the market today where customers don't have a choice. Even if you go with banking today, ATM, customers still have a choice, and I can tell you 100 of those people who still don't use ATM. They still prefer to go to the ATM and take that cash. And it might be just 2% of our entire population, but you have 2% of the market. So customers will always have a choice. It's about how you are able to make them adaptable, or make that product adaptable, so the customer had a convenience. Again, for example, Amazon. Okay, why is Amazon so successful? Starting from their seller support to their warehousing system. Okay, it's all talking about convenience. It's all about talking about how soon a product can move from a destination X to a destination Y, and whether it's a human who's going to pick it up, a machine who's going to pick it up, and there's a millions of investment. That's just not the cost. It is also about how they can increase the customer experience. Today, we know if on the Amazon app it says, and I'm not trying to sell off Amazon here, but I'm just fan of this that way, because they are the leader in the customer experience today, and we all face it. And so if you look at their app, it says it's going to be delivered in 2 days. Anyone on this call who does not have a confidence that out of 100 products you order, 99 will reach on the time or possibly before that, There was only one odd exception. And when you talk about the customer service, you'll always have omni channels. You'll have chat, you will have call, you will have call back option. If the bot is not able to explain, it will transfer you. There's an escalation line. Everything possible in the world is available from a customer convenience perspective. So we
Yeah.
agree there is an ecosystem we would like customer to adapt. However, they always have a choice. So a balance, adaptability, convenience, and understanding the customer still remains a critical part if we have to win the customer excellence business.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
adding on to Fasih, what you were saying.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. So it is always going to be that way, Ankur. Like, it's not just a like a matter of how a company is trying to direct a customer. It is always a customer who directs the business, right?
True.
How we are going to respond, what we are going to do. So it's interesting when we talked about Netflix and Amazon, right? So these two are the most customer obsessed companies, right? And mostly referred by a lot of different businesses around the globe when they talk about the customer experiences, because one is Netflix, where the total personalization of what person is watching, and then what they could be watching, and the experience of letting them to choose and spend time on the on their platform to consume different content. Whereas Amazon, how to make it easy for a customer to identify a product, or get a suggestion, and how quickly he can buy with a one click. That's an interesting story about the one click. Amazon was the first one to introduce this way back, and when they did that, Apple, that time Apple's CEO was Steve Jobs, and he was very much impressed with what Amazon did. So he called Jeff one day and then talked to Jeff saying, hey, you have done a good job putting this together, one-click shopping. I know I have a team who can build this, I can tell them to do, they can do it. But then since you guys have done all the hard work and you have done a good job, I want to see if I could license this from you. So Amazon said, yeah, absolutely, we'd be more than happy to. So they did that, and then so they were able to make that happen. So what I'm saying is, Apple, if you think about today, such a big company, and not that Amazon is anything smaller, but thing is, at that time, Apple was even much bigger, but still, so as a business to business, you never know where you could find the next the best the experience or the product or the service that you could add on. It's never ending for any companies, right? So you have to constantly innovate and looking for more options to make it more user friendlier, and how to make it one step staying ahead of the competition, right? So talking about this experience, Netflix and Amazon, so what would you like to add, that you think that is going to shape the companies, how they deliver the customer experience to their customers? So we'll take all of your input, all three panelists one by one. So on this one, yeah. So you want to start, Ankur? You want to start?
Yeah, I think it will, okay. So I think I've talked much about Amazon. So if I have to quote an example for Netflix, okay, now
Yeah.
Netflix is big on split testing. Okay, so split testing is nothing but when you are able to watch two screens at one time on one account. I'm sure most of the Netflix users will be able to relate it, that you click on something, you can watch it on one screen, and then somebody with the same ID, etc., can watch it on a different screen and
Yeah.
a different program, and you can still have the trending. See, the trick here is to constantly analyze customer trends, and not just before but during transactions as well. It's not just that you have captured it and you're doing a predictive analysis, but can you go proactive? Effective machine learning algorithms are able to provide analysis into customer psychology, trends, preferences, and possibly more. This in turn we can leverage to improve and personalize our services, which in turn improves the customer experience. Now, today, with artificial intelligence and machine learning and predictive analytics, everything ranging from a search history, click data, device, and time of search can be analyzed to predict future recommendations. It takes out the guesswork for businesses to understand what the customer likes and wants. Something as simple as product recommendations, which I earlier talked about Amazon. So we
Yeah.
need to use the power of these technology, the power of data, which we all say that data is a gold mine today, and leverage it to understand our customer and understand their needs, make those predictive as well as predictive analytics, and create those proactive measures so that when the customer is going to use our product service, it should be like we already know what their need is. And that's what's going to be the game changer when it comes to for the next 3 to 4 years, and how we're gonna, or which product is going to be leading the market from a customer experience perspective. I think
Okay.
that's my quick thought, just considering the time. So I just thought I'll
Sure,
share.
sure.
But
Yeah. Thanks. Ankur. So Vijay.
Hello.
Yeah.
In case it's freezed. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed the last point.
No. So it talking about like the Netflix and Amazon, like an example, like how well they are.
So I would say Amazon is fantastic, because there were a couple of instances where I had issues and that needs to be resolved. As like Ankur said, they have this callback option. So all I need to do go there is and say that hey, call back. I would definitely first look at all the self-serving options to see if it is resolved or by chat. And yes, their support system is fantastic. But again, that's not cheap. That's probably Amazon who's got the best practices in the world. But again, when you look at other things, let's say for let's say an Indian organization like Bajaj Finserv or RBL card, so there was a bad experience where, for example, I switched my phones. I tried installing that app, so it wanted to send an SMS, but because that was an eSIM, so I was not able to get an OTP. So I tried to reach into this was a unique problem. So I was trying to reach out to the customer care to tell out there is no data point. Yeah, they have bots, they have AI technologies, they have RPA, they have all the technologies in the world. But how do I solve this particular problem?
Yeah.
So that's a question.
Sure.
So I'm open to all the technologies in the world and everything, but end of the day, simple problems get solved, like the UPI or the payments and everything. Those are absolutely fantastic. That's what everybody wants. But what we are talking about is a customer experience. Like end of the day, you could do whatever technologies, you can give all the gimmicks and everything, that support and all that stuff. But if my issue is not resolved, if I'm not getting the satisfaction, where is the customer experience? That's it.
Yeah.
And you often run into these kind of unique problems, so again, for example, I had a Microsoft Surface Pro laptop. The keyboard didn't work, so I reached out to the Microsoft customer support after great difficulty, where it was that I tried finding out for that particular thing. They asked me to send the keyboard. I said, you need to send me a replacement. It's under warranty. If you want me to send the keyboard, then what will I do without using the keyboard? So I'm using it for my business purposes, and they want me to send it someplace in Delhi, and then they will check it and then they will ship a replacement. Now for that 7 days, what will I do?
Okay, yeah.
So
Exactly.
experience there.
Yeah. True.
You buy such an expensive product, so whether it's an Apple iPhone, it's fine. But Microsoft does not have a local store in Chennai to go and give my check my laptop. So what's the point?
Yeah, true.
So the support mechanism must be extremely efficient. Yes, you cannot compare an Amazon with the Indian kind of the technologies or the kind of thing. Amazon, Netflix, Apple, they have fantastic support. There no two ways about it. Probably those should be the thresholds, or those should be the learning points for the other companies. Probably that's where they need to see and adapt. So probably that would be a better way to put it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, point well made. So this is like just like what Ankur made a few minutes back. Like it could be 1 or 2% of the customers, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
At the
matter.
end of the day, we have to satisfy them. Like all of them, right? That's the key, right? So yeah, thanks.
You need to satisfy the 2-3% people only, because those are the guys who are going to give.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I think you see the CSAT and all, only there'll be a lot of people who yeah, I'm agreeing, like what Abbas said, there'll be 60, 70, or even 80% of the people who are satisfied. But when you see as a customer experience, when you talk about customer experience, you need to talk about the 100%. And the 30% matters. So you need to focus on what was a wrong feedback given, and you need to improve on that. You should always never see what is a good. That's how the system works, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because there is there are like a good, interesting statistics in terms of the customer experience, right? So in one of the example, Microsoft said 61% of the customers switch brands if they experience a bad customer service. So so that's a significant amount of number, right? So and PricewaterhouseCoopers, they were saying they did 15,000 customers when they are doing a survey. 1 out of 3 customers saying they will leave the brand after having just one bad experience. 1 out of 3. That's a big number, right? And 92% agreed if they face some hardship, more than 2 or 3 times, they are never going to come back to that product or the brand. So the small numbers, sometimes not necessarily stay small, right? They grow out of proportion very quickly. So yeah, so it's very important to stay focused on that. Okay, so for Fasih, yeah.
I'm sorry, Fasih. I would have to drop off. I've got another customer call. I think we just
absolutely. Yeah, no
apologies, but it was really nice catching up with you, Fasih. Nice to meet you, and Vijay.
Thank you so much
for listening.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Nice, connecting with you, Ankur, and we will connect on LinkedIn separately, and we'll continue to chat. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the question in terms of how do we make or give an Amazon or a Netflix kind of an experience in our own businesses, right?
Yeah.
If you largely look at this, there are 2 parts to it, right? What customers actually look for is the ease of using the app or the product, and how well are they feeling connected to their requirement, right? So basically what I mean by this is, let me talk about Oyo. This is a very relative example. There's one executive who travels from a place in Rajasthan, and he comes over to Delhi and stays there in a room for about 2 days, then goes back, and he rates amazing on that particular room and the kind of facilities, the kind of interiors and all of that.
Okay.
Right. And there are 10 of those executives coming from the same city and traveling to different parts of India, and they are also rating the best on a certain kind of a room. Now what Oyo has actually picked up is what was the wallpaper, or the kind of wallpaper, the kind of colors and the kind of interiors that the room had, what is the kind of food that was served, what is the age of those customers who've traveled, and then the geography, the place that they're coming from. All this brought together is part of your AI, right? And the next time there's an executive who's of the similar age and traveling from the same city, what Oyo does is it first shows 5 different rooms which are of this flavor. The ease at which the executive can click and say yes to that room is just there. He doesn't have to browse 50 different rooms to select his room.
Okay.
Secondly, once he reaches that and he stays there, there are higher chances of him rating a great NPS, because he's got a wow experience already.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what has Oyo done is Oyo has really encashed on the AI that it has really worked on.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that is the area that most organizations are slowly moving towards and trying to understand, what would a certain customer of a certain demography or a certain, cohort of an age or a background would want out of their product. And that is all about the choices that, an e-commerce website showing 10 different products which are similar to what, or the next to buy kind of products which the customer may be browsing, right? These are all part of the backend AIs and, getting the intelligence on board. Now, this is one thing. So how better can, the organizations get this for the customers? They can understand their customers. How can they position them, their products and services, so that the customer doesn't have to search 500 products to select one? Though are those 5 or 7 products or 5 or 7 different rooms, and he's already got his choice. The ease at which he gets this done, and he feels that he's very well connected to the organization or the product or the website, is what is going to really keep him alive in the system, right?
Yeah.
He is going to come back time and again. Secondly, solving a problem, right? The organization should not be looking at that as just a query, as I mentioned in my previous conversation. The organization should actually go back and relate to what actually led to that problem. And if you have a lot of the customers talking about the same problem, it becomes a focus area and you really need to solve this at the root. And if you are able to solve this, and if you are able to give the right kind of a feedback to a policy maker and tell them that, people are unhappy with this policy, which is a timeline of 5 to 7 working days that our app or a product is giving, can we fine tune that? Can we make it 3 to 5 days? Because we see 95% of the problem solving in 3 to 5 days. Just that the customer sees 5 to 7 days with the start of his ticket creation, he feels unhappy about it. So the policy needs to, the policy maker gets a feedback. The product, if there are customers who are unhappy of using a certain feature, that needs to be very quickly collected using a survey or using different methods, a feedback maybe on the product itself. And that needs to be fine-tuned as well. If this is again, intelligence of customers that is again getting injected into the product and the services, the customer experience team, believe me, you're doing a great and a fabulous job. And you just keep moving on.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah, I think that is where most organizations should head towards, and organizations like Amazon and Netflix have just done it really well.
Yeah. Done. Yeah. So they have done a very, very good job in doing that. Yeah. True. Very true. So yeah. So I think that brings to like the topics that we wanted to discuss. I know we ran a little bit over the time, like almost 9 minutes. So let's see quickly if there are any questions from the participants. If they have anything that we can quickly answer, and then conclude the session. So participants, anyone have questions? I know, sorry, Ankur have to go. So Vijay is still here, and Fasih is still here. So anyone has any questions for them?
So if there are no questions, then probably let's say making the closing points.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say, what gives a great customer experience. So one, and why do we need that customer experience? One is to build the loyalty, and you need to retain the customers. Okay, so as a customer, as myself a customer using various products, I would see it that way, not from the way I'm deploying it, but as a user experiencing it. For me, a great customer experience would mean, if it's personalized for me. Okay, if it is relevant for me, if it's simple for me, and also if the answers are consistent, if I get what I want as a customer in simple steps. You can use all the technologies you want, I'm not saying no, but as long as it's personalized for me, probably using those technologies, you make it timely, you make it relevant to me. It has to be simple, seamless integrations, and different omni channels, whether it's chat or calls or whether it is like on emails. So everything has to be seamlessly integrated, and that will give the customer a memorable experience. And if there is a consistent effort put into that, like the Amazons or the Netflixes, then customer will have a memorable experience, and that's why you have the customer loyalty, and that will also retain the customers. That's my feedback.
Good. Very, very good points. Yeah, very good points, Vijay. Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, yeah, how about you, Fasih? Any closing comments? So any other questions, then we'll.
Yeah, I think, the only message that I want to give to the audience is that, customer experience is rapidly changing, and the speed at which changes are coming. People in this fraternity should not stick on to conventional customer experience, which is just answering calls, answering chats, and answering messages. If you are part of this fraternity, start looking in the way forward how automations are happening, how artificial intelligence is actually shaping up and bringing in a lot of value add in the business. How could you be a part of this entire new journey, right? I see a lot of them who've been with over a 10 years 12 years of experience, but they are still stuck to the old school of thought that I need to have real good chat experience or an email experience, even being a leader. I think the trend is changing. I think organizations would want to hire people who can talk, lean teams, very, very small teams handling large set of customers. And how can you be a part of it is a big question. And I think you need to start heading in that direction. And as an organization, I think organizations are already thinking about how they can cut costs. And with the pandemic, they all have realized that they can't run bigger costs, operational costs in running their business. And one of the biggest operational costs in most organizations is the customer services. And I'm sure Uthaman, you'll agree to that, right? And if they are going to cut costs, they're going to definitely look at automation. So all in all, please think seriously about it if you are part of that fraternity.
Sure. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
So that's it from my side as well.
Yeah. So that's a very, very, very good point, Fasih, and good point from Vijay. So thank you so much for taking your time and joining us and explaining and sharing your thoughts and experience. So with us, so I'm pretty sure it's been a very good session for all of our audiences and everyone who is going to even see and then learn from our recorded session also, because we are going to make it available on the social media once we are done with this meeting. So thanks so much. And we depending upon the situation and other scenarios coming up, we will connect again, we'll discuss different things, or more deep into this topic or different topics in coming days. Okay, thank you so much. And
it's been my pleasure as well, Uthaman. Nice spending this time on this forum and interacting with the hosts as well. Thank you very much for having me here, and really wish you all the best in the endeavors ahead. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Uthaman. Thank you, guys. Pleasure meeting you.
Thanks, Vijay, and see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye.